Picture the first clash of World War III. Not in Europe, not in Asia, but deep within the Arctic. A place of endless ice and silence suddenly transformed into the deadliest battleground on the planet. Imagine the polar night pierced by the glow of radar screens and the shadows of submarines slipping silently beneath the frozen ocean floor. For decades, the Arctic remained a frontier, untouched by human conflict, frozen and isolated. But climate change is shifting everything. Ice melts, revealing vast stores of oil, gas, and minerals hidden for millennia. The Arctic is no longer a wilderness. It is a stage for global ambition. Nations are watching Russia, the United States, China, and NATO, each building icebreakers, military bases, submarines, and air patrols, staking claims over territory no one thought could be worth fighting for. The question is not if tensions rise, the question is how they ignite. What happens when the world's most remote frontier becomes the epicenter of global war? The key driver is climate change. Once an impassable fortress, the Arctic is now navigable. New shipping lanes like the Northern Sea Route open for trade cutting, weeks from global supply chains, and beneath the retreating ice lie some of the largest untapped reserves of oil and natural gas in the world. Controlling these resources means global dominance. The Arctic is no longer a backdrop. It is the spark that could ignite the deadliest conflict humanity has ever faced. History warns us. This is not unprecedented. During the Cold War, Arctic airspace and waters were hotly contested. The shortest route for nuclear missiles between Washington and Moscow ran directly over the North Pole in World War II. Arctic convoys braved U-boats and bombers to deliver crucial supplies to the Soviet Union. The Arctic is never as empty or peaceful as it seems today. Satellites, drones, and hypersonic missiles can monitor and strike with unprecedented precision, making this frozen wilderness a perfect but deadly battlefield. Now let us imagine the sequence of events. Step 1. A single incident. A collision between a U.S. nuclear submarine and a Russian vessel under the ice, or a confrontation over a newly opened shipping lane. A skirmish erupts, and a missile is fired into the polar night. Step 2. Escalation jets and bombers scramble from Norway, Alaska, and Greenland naval fleets, icebreakers escorting armed ships. The Arctic becomes a war zone. Step 3. The fight for control. Soldiers battle not only the enemy, but the freezing elements. Sub-zero temperatures, blizzards, and ice storms challenge every operation, yet the stakes are immense. Oil-gas trade routes. Nations are drawn deeper into conflict. Step 4. Global consequences. The clash cannot remain local. The United States calls on NATO allies. Russia mobilizes its Northern Command. China deploys Arctic-trained forces within days. The conflict spreads beyond the Arctic, and World War III becomes reality. Unlike previous wars, nuclear-armed submarines lurk beneath the ice, ready to unleash devastation. One error could trigger planetary catastrophe. The turning point comes as nuclear-powered icebreakers cut paths through frozen seas, escorting missile-laden fleets. Stealth bombers sweep across polar skies, invisible to radar. Satellite warfare blinds nations above communication lines. Collapse. Submarines disappear into the abyss, each armed with weapons capable of ending civilization. The world watches in silence as the frozen Arctic transforms into the hottest flashpoint of war. Then the unimaginable, a nuclear detonation beneath the ice, whether by accident or intent, begins a chain reaction. Cities across the northern hemisphere teeter on the edge of destruction. World War III, born from ice, threatens the world itself. The Arctic was once eternal, a silent, frozen wasteland, now revealed as a stage for human ambition. No place is beyond conflict. Even the most isolated corners can become arenas of catastrophe. If World War III starts in the Arctic, it will not stay there. It will ripple across oceans, continents, and civilizations. The lesson is stark. Human desire for resources, power, and territory can drag even the most remote corners of the Earth into war. The Arctic reminds us that silence can mask danger, that stillness can hide chaos, and that even frozen landscapes can echo with the roar of humanity's deadliest conflicts. And if the Arctic can ignite a global war, what happens when the battleground moves beyond Earth? What if the first shots of World War III were fired not on the ground, but in orbit above our heads? That is a story for another time.